This is JP with Oracle Lighting. Today we're here to check out how to install the new Oracle ColorSHIFT RGB+A DRL replacement kit for the 2020 and up Chevrolet Corvette C8. This install does involve removing a few parts of the car to get to the headlights. However, overall the install is very straightforward and we're going to show you how to do that from start to finish. Let's get started. So first thing we're going to do is pop the frunk by pressing this button under the driver's side headlight. We're going to remove both side panels. Next, we're going to pull the cowl liner. This is just held in with a few snaps, so we just need to release it on both sides and then pull it forward. So we're going to go ahead and mount our LED driver. I'm using a 3M double-sided adhesive to do this. This isn't included with the kit, but you can use zip ties, you can use self-tap screws. We're just going to a plastic panel back here, so you don't have to worry about damaging anything. And we're going to go ahead and stick this down right behind the battery to this plastic panel. Try to leave some space for our BC1. We're going to put our BC1 controller right above it. Now we've got 3 additional wires. We've got a ground, and then we've got turn signal for each side. So we're going to route these left and right respectively. We're going to leave the ground right here next to the battery. We're going to shorten that and connect it to the negative terminal. All right, BC1, same thing. We're going to put a little piece of 3M double-sided adhesive on the back. We're going to go ahead and stick the BC1 down right above the LED driver. So the BC1 has 4 outputs. We only need to use 1 today, which means you have 3 spare outputs if you choose to add anything like compartment lighting or underbody lighting, anything you'd like to add. There are a few caps in the box. We're going to go ahead and cap off these unused outputs. So we're going to grab any 3 outputs, it doesn't matter which. We're going to go ahead and put our cap on it, keep any dust or any type of corrosion away from the contacts that could cause problems down the road with the BC1. Go ahead and tighten those down. All right, now we're going to take our output cable for the BC1, plug this in to our last open output on the BC1. So you'll notice that we have quite a bit of cable here. We don't need the cables to be this long. What I like to do to keep things tidy is just go ahead and shorten these things as much as possible. So I'm going to go ahead and clip the excess wire from the LED driver, and I'm going to clip the excess wire from the BC1 output cable. I'm going to go ahead and strip away the black shielding to give us our 4 wires again. I'm going to do the same on the LED driver side. So you'll notice on the LED driver side, there's a black, red, green, and blue wire, and on the BC1 side, there is a white, red, green, and blue wire. So these wires are going to connect together color for color. You can use butt connectors or solder, and then the white wire is going to connect to the black wire. Here's a diagram on the screen, just in case you need a visual reference. So in this case, we're going to use butt connectors. Being that we're staying really close to the battery, we're under the cowl. There's no heat, nothing engine-wise happening up here because the engine's in the back on the C8. I'm okay with using butt connectors here. We're just going to use your standard nylon red butt connectors. We're going to go ahead and crimp those to the output wires on the BC1. Now we're going to go ahead and strip and crimp in the LED driver wires. Now that we've got that done, we're going to go ahead and just tuck away the wires. Make that nice and tidy down here. Alright, so we've got our ground cable coming from the LED driver unit. We're going to go ahead and add a ring terminal to this wire. It's not included with the kit, but you can get these at any hardware store. So we have our 2 ground cables. Loosen our 10mm bolt. We're going to attach our 2 ground cables, and we're going to go ahead and tighten down that 10mm bolt. Now we're going to move over to the positive side. We're going to loosen our 10mm bolt. We're going to lay down our positive wire for the BC1. And we're going to tighten that back down. So we've got our jack positioned, and now all we're going to do is loosen the lugs. Then we're going to jack the car up and remove the wheel. So now that we got the wheel removed, we just need to remove the fender liner. Holding that on, there's 14 T15 screws on the outside. There's 3 7mm on the bottom, and there's 2 additional T15s behind the mud flap. Now that we have all of the bolts out, we're going to pull the mud flap very firmly. I'm going to get these last 2 T15s, and now we are ready to pull the fender liner. Get this lip free, and then we just pull it down and straight out. So in order to get to the factory heatsink, we need to move this bracket out of the way. So we're going to undo these 3 10mm bolts and this 1 10mm bolt on the top side. That'll allow us to slide this bracket out of the way. I'm going to undo this top side. Last thing we need to do is release this fir tree mount for the wiring harness. Now we can just slide this bracket over. Now we've got this out of the way just enough to where we can get to the back of the heatsink. So now to remove the heatsink, we need to loosen these 2 T20 screws. Now we're going to carefully pull the heatsink out. We want to be very careful with this plug as it's really delicate. I'm going to unplug the heatsink. Again, being very cautious of the solder joints on this plug. So this is the factory DRL. You'll see the white LEDs and the amber LEDs because this also functions as a turn signal. So what we need to do is remove this gasket so we can use it later. So in order to avoid the turn signals hyperflashing or getting a signal out error message on the dash, we need to keep this plugged in and secured on the outside of the light. We're going to show you exactly how to run this plug out and secure this to where it doesn't move. So we're going to transfer the gasket from the factory heatsink to the Oracle heatsink. So we can go ahead and keep that receptacle watertight. We want to make sure that this is flat. We're going to lay that green plug across the bottom, and we're going to press the Oracle heatsink in place. You do have to press it in a little firmer because of those extra wires hanging out, but it's okay. We're going to put our T20s back in. I like to put these in finger tight first just to get them started. We're going to cinch these down little by little, side to side, just to make sure everything is nice and tight. So now we have the factory plug outside, and we have the Oracle heatsink in. We're going to go ahead and route our cable up through this, and then we're just going to let this hang out and around for the time being. So we're going to run our turn signal trigger wire through this opening. We're just going to drop that down into the fender well for now. Now we're going to just run it across, pull the slack out. So we'll unlock the red locking tab for the headlight connector. We'll press and we'll pull out. So the wire we're looking for on the driver's side is going to be the blue, light blue with white. Got that separated here in the harness. We're going to go ahead and get our T-tap. You can connect these in any way you'd like. If you don't like using T-taps, you can use solder, whatever you want. We're using T-taps for this video. We're going to go ahead and shorten our turn signal wire. We don't need all of this excess wire. Get rid of some of that heat shrink that's over it. And we want to make sure that the middle contact is in the center. Sometimes when you crimp these down, it'll go off to the side and then you'll completely miss the slot on the T-tap when you go to plug it in. Just want to make sure that that goes all the way in. Beautiful. Now we're just going to plug the headlight harness back in, lock the red security lock. So now we need to plug in the factory heatsink. That way we avoid any hyper flashing or signal out errors on the dash. And I know what you're thinking, that why don't you just remove the circuit board from the heatsink? And that's pretty much impossible to do without breaking the circuit board. You cannot replace just these parts. You have to buy a whole new headlight. So I would suggest just leaving it on the heatsink and securing it how we show. So we're gonna go ahead and make sure that this is plugged in all the way. Make sure that that locks. Now we're going to be very gentle. We're going to move this upward. We're going to move this bracket back into place. We're going to move our bracket back into place. We're going to get our bolt in. Get our bolts back into place. There we go. All right. We're going to go ahead and connect our ColorSHIFT DRL cable to the driver. So we left that here when we mounted it. We're going to move this guy over here, get it nice and tucked down, and plug that in. So we're going to go ahead and cinch up this extra length of cable with a zip tie. So now we're going to put the wheel liner back in. We just need to slide this in. We want to get it above the suspension. I'm going to push this in. So we just need to get everything moved into place here, and then we'll start tucking everything in place. All right. So that wraps it up. If you have any questions, be sure to visit oraclelights.com or call us at 1-800-407-5776. Thanks for watching.